especially if you have guests, to show your hospitality, but inviting them.
Good point. Yeah, and that's all through the Bible. You'll see that all through the Bible about the feast. After the prodigal son comes home, he's wasted all this stuff on living wildly. What does the father do?
Puts a ring.
Not just a calf, but the
Fatted
fatted
calf. Gives him clothes, a ring, shoes.
Yeah, yeah. And the fatted calf, it speaks of fellowship. And that's what God always wanted with us, was to have fellowship. All right, I'll start wrapping it up a little bit. So he says, and he gave them a piece of broiled fish and some honeycomb. He took and ate it in their presence. See, what he's showing them here is what?
He's alive.
He is alive, and he's not just a material or spirit.
And you're handing him something that's touching you.
Right. Because some people will say he was just a spirit, or he's a shadow, phantom. You see, not the case. He died physically, he rose physically. And he says, and he spoke to them, these are the words which I spoke to you while I was with you, that all things must be fulfilled which were written where? In the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms concerning me. He's talking about what? Old Testament. Now, this is the Old Testament. This is a Hebrew Bible right here, okay? Buy it for $20 at Borders. Called the Tanakh, the Hebrew Jewish Bible. Same books we have in our King James. They just number them a little bit different. How does Jesus divide the Old Testament here? Law of Moses, which is the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms. 3 divisions, right? You go to Borders, you buy this today, 20 centuries later. It's divided into 3 parts. The Torah, Moses, they call that.
Which are 5
The
books.
prophets and the writings are the Psalms. The same way Jesus divided it here is the same way the Jewish Bible is divided today. That's the acronym. Tanakh, Torah, not the being the prophets, the being is the writings or the Psalms. Same thing today, what he did here. Now, just let me borrow that for a second. Here's the deal. This is a New Testament. It's a Thai English New Testament, but the color and the size are the same, so it fits this object lesson. Now, the Old Testament is done. What's the time distance between when that's finished and this starts?
400 years.
400 years. Christians did not write this book. Do you understand? When I work with Muslims, it's a very important point. This period in between here, does anybody know what it's called? Between the Old Testament closes and the New Testament starts? Intertestament or Maccabean era, whatever. Intertestament is a good word. Midway between here, what do they do with this Hebrew Bible? Into, specifically though, Greek, and they called it the Septuagint. The Greek language was the market language of the day, like English is the market language today. If you want to go into graduate school or be an airplane pilot or you want English. But here's the deal. No other religion has a dual system. One, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Book of Mormon, single. Ours is 2. God's telling us all this stuff in the Old Testament that has to come true in the New. Jesus says, do not think that I've come to destroy the law and the prophets, but rather I've come to what? To what level of detail? So what did he say? He uses a special, that every iota, every jot and tittle clips together perfectly. When study how Jesus proved who he was, study how the apostles in the book of Acts proved who he was. If you go to my thing tomorrow, you'll see how I'll prove who he was. What I'm saying is nobody's got a dual system. Now, I wasn't the smartest pencil in the box when I went to school as a kid, but how many minimum number of points do you need to make a straight line? 2. That's true. 2. Okay? You need 2 witnesses to establish truth in a capital murder case. Every other religion has 1. You understand this? Source of authority.
It's like you say
we have 2.
About a man standing on one leg.
Source of authority is extremely, extremely important. We Christians must know this for the world we're going into now, where Christianity is being hit from this side, attacked from that side, and everything they're trying to disprove. But if we understand this, nothing knocks us off. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I was going to say, it just came to me as I was listening here, the Mosaic law requires the witnesses of 2 or 3.
Yes.
So having the Old and the New Testament, that they themselves constitute the witnesses of Christ, from the Old to the New.
Exactly right. And again, nobody has a dual system.
Just to clarify, from the time Malachi was completed
Yes.
to the time Christ was born, lived his life, died, was risen, and then Matthew wrote his first book,
Matthew, Mark, Luke,
400 years.
400 years.
Okay.
And like Paul says, it's called the Intertestament period or the Maccabean period. But that's a very important point. And once we understand it, you'll understand how solid our proof system is. And that's why you'll be very confident if you were to talk with an atheist, a Buddhist, a Muslim, it doesn't matter. Because nobody else has this. It's like bringing a gun to a
Knife fight, yeah.
I mean, you just are got
I like when you say about a man standing on one leg,
exactly
that any
right.
child,
Push him off balance.
if he's on two. Yeah.
I mean, if Darnell was standing up on just one leg,
Gee, I could go.
you could push him hard enough, you lose. But if he's got